Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Redden, therapeutic coach of SRTT, and today I'm joined by Luna from Black Moon Cove to have a conversation about spiritual guidance. Welcome, Luna. Thank you for joining me.
Hi Sarah, thank you for allowing me on your podcast. I'm a fan and watch all of your shows, so I'm really pleased to be here.
Thank you. I was just sharing beforehand that it seems really strange to me that when people tell me they're listening, even though I know people are, I almost feel a little bit like, oh my goodness, people paid attention. So just
Yeah.
appreciate everyone who listens. So thank you so much for listening and being here today. Would you like to share just a little bit about yourself and what Black Moon Cove is, please?
Yeah, of course. So obviously I'm Luna and I would describe myself as a spiritual healer. I'm also a pagan high priestess. I've been a pagan witch for around 20 years now, so a long time. And I've been running spiritual businesses on and off for around about 13 years.
Wow.
So a lot of experience, anything from sort of doing face-to-face tarot readings to aura readings, aura cleansings. But for the last couple of years, I've been working alongside my husband, Raven, and we have developed Black Moon Cove as a spiritual healing business. So we do tarot readings, I do past life regression therapy. I'm a Reiki master, so I do Reiki healing. We also do spells and spell casting for people. We deliver courses and workshops. And of course, I do spiritual guidance sessions as well. The other thing that we do is run a witch circle as a group on Facebook where we offer sort of support and a safe environment for witches who want to connect, learn and be friends, really.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about like how do you describe a witch? Because I know there's lots of kind of misinformation out there. So if you're happy to, would you describe who a witch is?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a very personal question, really. I don't think it's a one answer that fits
Yeah.
all. For me, being a witch is about embracing my authentic self. It's about honouring nature. It's about honouring the wheel of the year and the changing of the seasons and respecting Mother Earth, what she has to offer us. It's also about manifestation. So a witch would often do spellcraft, and it's about working with the energies of the universe and working on manifesting, bringing into being what you want from the world, and connecting with others as well and supporting other people. People don't often see witchcraft as a sort of humanitarian religion, if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Um, but as a pagan high priestess, we actually are what you would maybe call a vicar or a priest or
Mm.
an imam. So we offer spiritual support to other witches. So that's how we would describe ourselves.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to ask the question, because I think there's so much misunderstanding about what being a witch is, or like sort of spiritual guidance, spiritual practice. So I would much rather hear you explain it than me try and explain it, because it's not the world that I dip a toe in, but I don't live in. So will you tell me a little bit more about like the spiritual guidance and what that involves?
Yeah, of course. So the spiritual guidance is actually one of the fairly newer services we started offering. And it was mainly due to the fact that there was a lot of gap in the service. I felt people would often come to us and just want some advice or say, I feel like I want some spiritual healing, but I don't know what that is. I don't
Yeah.
know what to do. I don't know what service to ask for. Um, so really, this is a way to offer people anything that they need on a spiritual basis. So any of the other services that we offer, we can do in that spiritual guidance package. So they come in sort of packages of like 4 or 8 or 2. So it gives people a chance to really talk through what it is they need. Some people don't know, and they
Mm.
just need that space to say, you know, I've been really drawn to do some sort of spiritual healing or to talk about spirituality, but I don't know why. And I don't
Yeah.
know what for. I'm just drawn to do
Yeah.
it. So it's my job to bring some clarity into that and have meaningful and you know, give inquiring questions as to what brought them there. And then it's all led by the person. As you know, as a coach, it has
Yeah.
to be led by the person who's come to you. And also, like, what an honor to be asked by somebody, you know, can you help me? Will you help me on this journey? I feel
Yeah.
lost. And they've been drawn to you and the energy you have. And I never undervalue that or underestimate that. I always just feel in awe that somebody wants to share some healing with me and ask me for some help and guidance.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is it's for people that are maybe at the beginning of their sort of journey of inquiry into sort of spiritual practice and like healing energies, maybe crystals, this sort of thing. And even to further down the spectrum, but it's not that you need to have all the answers or know what all the spiritual practices are, or kind of need to identify as a particular label or anything in particular to get involved. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely correct, Sarah. I mean, you don't need to know anything about spirituality, so to speak, or have experience in it at all to be involved in spiritual guidance sessions. All what you need to have is that draw to want to give
Yeah.
it a try. But on the other hand, I have worked with people who are very advanced in their spirituality and have a lot of knowledge, but just suddenly found themselves feeling a bit lost or disempowered, or life is treating them somewhat unkindly and they've lost their spirituality or their oomph for life a little bit. So it can be anywhere on the spectrum of not having any knowledge to having quite a lot of knowledge, but just needing some spiritual based support.
Yeah. And what do you mean when you say spiritual based support? What can that involve?
So we talk on a spiritual level. So if somebody wants advice on something, then the advice comes from the lens of being a pagan and a pagan witch. So if I can give, say, a guided meditation to somebody to help them feel more grounded or safe, or to connect them to Mother Earth or a particular deity,
Mm.
we might talk about the spirituality regarding Reiki and how that could support them in their feelings of feeling lost or disempowered or struggling in some way. We may use tarot as a form of answers. So I would do some live card pulls in the session where we would ask the cards for some guidance regarding the specific issue or area of their life that they're struggling with, and we use them to help us get some answers.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, it sounds like just so beautiful and absolutely up my street, the sort of thing that I would like to get involved in. And it makes me curious, if you're happy to share, sort of how did you get involved with the sort of the spiritual world and being pagan and sort of your progression from, I guess, I don't use the word normal, but you know what I mean, like just your general
Yeah.
average person into where you are with your belief system and the way in which you use the tools that you use.
Yeah, of course. So I was a teenager and I guess feeling quite lost myself. Teenagers are always tough for people. I won't go
Mm,
into many details, but it was a tough ride for me.
yeah,
Um, and I didn't quite know where to turn. I had some family who were Catholic and who would probably try and take me down the route of Catholicism and looking for support in the church, which was absolutely fine. It worked for my sister and she went down that road and found, you know, support and love
yeah,
there. And I just knew that wasn't right for me. A friend of mine actually started working in a library and she was drawn to take out some books on witchcraft, and then that was it. I was
yeah.
completely sold. You know, I just was like, wow, something in my soul's just saying this is the right thing for you. So I sort of did my own research. This was back before there was a lot of internet or social media.
Oh, when everything was hard, yeah.
When everything was more difficult. I couldn't just Google like how do I be a witch? You know, when you're
Yeah.
16, you're feeling a
Okay.
little bit
Or
lost.
now you can
And
just go on TikTok and watch
yeah,
all of these amazing people talk about different. There's so much information out there for, podcasts and things.
yeah,
We have it
yeah.
hard.
did, yeah. It was quite difficult because I think there was a lot more trust in yourself needed. You had to
Mm,
really trust that you were just doing what felt right for you without validation from other people to say, yeah,
yeah,
that's the right or wrong way to do it, which
yeah.
we know is the way to do it anyway.
Yeah,
You
because
should
there's so
always,
much power, isn't in trusting your own voice and following your own path. Because there are hundreds of thousands of people that will tell you to do it their way, but
yeah.
ultimately your path of self-discovery is what leads you to the you that you need to be.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, I really don't feel like I would have been the spiritual healer and confident witch that I am today if I didn't have to do it that way. Not to say that doing it via social media and practicing and developing your witchcraft using the internet is a bad thing. So I think there's so many pluses about that.
Mm,
And it's so wonderful that we can connect across the world as witches because we have this resource. But I do think that because I had to have so much trust in myself to just follow my heart and do what I felt was right,
yeah,
and I'd really discovered like the authentic witch inside of me because of that, and I'd just done spells because I felt like that was the right thing to do, without following like an ingredient list and things like that.
yeah,
I just thought, yeah, I really want to use this tool or that kind of herb because that's
yeah,
what feels right for me.
yeah,
And yeah, in over the years, I just wanted to share that with the world.
yeah.
So I did my own business a long time ago now, about 13 years ago, and I tried to share that with other people. I was still quite young at the time, sort of early 20s. So I think um, you just learn and develop through experience, don't you?
Yeah.
So it's now come to the point where I just feel I'm in such a good place and just love what I do so much. Just feels so right.
Yeah. So why do you feel like this is a service that other people need then?
I think people often use the service when they just need someone to talk to, but they're not sure who to turn to.
Mm,
Um, Sometimes not even on a spiritual level. I have had people just come and do the sessions because they just wanted someone to hear them and listen to
yeah.
them and be validated in how they feel. And of course, being a high priestess, that's something I would do anyway, not on a spiritual level. Just listen to people talk, give them a listening ear, and um, validate their feelings,
Yeah.
outlet. But I think people need the service because I do think there's a bit of a gap in the market and the services out there. I don't think many people offer real spiritual guidance sessions coming from the background that myself and Raven do. And not very often do you get two um, people working together. It's
Mm,
often a one person business where we do tarot readings, we do all of the guidance and past life sessions often together. So you actually get two um, perspectives, two pieces of input, two pieces of
yeah.
advice all together, and it works really well.
Yeah. And that feels like that's incredibly powerful as well, those kind of two different energies and different perspectives, viewpoints, but energies is the word that I want to go to
Yeah.
back to, that kind of holding of that space in that like I've got that kind of yin yang picture in my head, that it feels like you bring that into it, which is in my experience, as limited as it is unusual. And what a kind of unique way of approaching it. What led you to work that way?
I think it's funny you say yin and yang because actually I just shared a photo of me and my husband on Facebook, and the thing that I wrote was yin and yang because
Oh
that's
wow.
what, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
how
I
we
haven't had
describe
time to look at
ourselves.
that this morning because I've been busy doing my thing. So if that was today, I've not even seen that. So that's not even been unconsciously planted.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I think that's how we just kind of describe ourselves. That's how people see us,
Yeah,
and we've always felt that way. Because I was always running spiritual businesses, even kind of when I had a full-time job, I was still doing that on the side kind of thing as a
yeah,
part-time job. And Raven is always, he's a very talented medium and tarot reader. So when I was doing that kind of on the side, he would often help And if I was a bit stuck, or I didn't know how to help someone, or I needed some advice, he would always chip in. So then it just kind of got to the point where we're like, why don't we just do this together? People really seem to feed back when both of us had inputted into a
Yeah.
reading how brilliant it was and how well we work together. But people always say don't work with your partner, but it works really well for us. Like,
Yeah, I think when
it
it
is
when it
that,
works well, it works really well. And it is
yeah,
that, like, you can bounce off each other, can't you? And kind of bring that, like you say, the blind spots, you can sort of bring it
yeah,
in and work together. So I guess that's so enriching for your clients to be able to get this kind of deeper perspective with two sets of well, I want to say two souls working with it. That's because that's how it feels, rather than just eyes looking,
yeah.
it's souls working with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have a totally different skill set, hence the yin and yang as well. We're different kind of energies as well. He's very grounding. Like whenever I do sort of past life work, he's sort of near me and he grounds me to the earth. And I'm very sort of the nurturing kind of person. I'm water, he's earth. So together we kind of make a really good energy. But he's very good. He's a very talented medium. He's done a lot of work working with spirits and helping them move on. He's very good technologically, which we mentioned earlier as well,
Yeah, yeah.
before the session, which really helps me because I'm definitely not. So yeah, we just work really well, and I hope people can see that we love
Yeah.
what we do and we love working together.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can kind of feel hear the passion when you talk about it, and my mind's going 100 miles an hour thinking of all the different things. But I know you wanted to share a little bit about the step into your power. So would you like to share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, so the spiritual guidance sessions, they're actually called Step Into Your Power. Now, this was something that came to me in a meditation because at the start of the year, we suddenly realised when we have our meetings, me and Raven sat together with a coffee,
Yeah.
but we suddenly realised how much time we were spending in our working day just chatting to people, messengers and stuff like that, which is absolutely fine and we love to do. But it's so many people came to us saying, I'm feeling lost, I need some help and support, and I don't know what it is or what I need.
Mm,
And that was taking up a lot of our space and time. So in a meditation, I just heard the words step into your power, and
yeah.
the solar plexus area was buzzing and really created a beacon of light. So I spoke about this to Raven and we decided to launch the spiritual guidance sessions called Step Into Your Power. We want the guidance sessions to be solar plexus based work where we work on guiding people to their power center, their
Mm,
solar plexus to be activated so they feel empowered to take on board their own healing. You know, because often when people are coming to us saying, we need your help, you know, I feel like I need some healing, but I don't know what. Well, then the aim is to empower them to feel like they know what to do next, to take
yeah.
control and charge of their own healing and their own journey.
Yeah, and I love that. And as I listen to you, I see so many parallels with my philosophies and the way that I work. I don't identify as anything. I just am a Sarah, and I just, I'm just me, and I do my stuff. So I think it's really interesting to hear that, think that people are listening can tap into this and not need to feel like they have to call themselves a witch or anything particular to be able to get benefit from this type of service. And people listening might think like maybe about like, well, how do you get stuff in a meditation? And I can admit that that would be something that I probably would have turned my eyebrows, lifted my eyebrows at like a year or so ago. But I've had that experience as well, that I've been in meditation and it's come to me a way in which to deliver one of the services that I do, and it completely changed the way in which I delivered this service just from a moment of a spark of inspiration through meditation, and I filter that through a slightly different lens to you, but it's all that same power, isn't it? It's all that same kind of self affirmation that stepping into your power. Exactly what you're calling it, exactly what you're doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The beauty of
yeah,
meditation is just quieten that ego, quieten that conscious mind, so you can talk to your more authentic self, you know, you
yeah,
hear that voice, you hear whatever people might call it. Some people might call it God, some people might call it praying, some people might call it a deity or a
yeah,
spirit guide or your higher self. Either way, you get these waves of inspiration through meditation that can lead you into a successful path of life.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like sort of for me, spiritual guidance, there are parallels to religious study, but I guess the difference for me is that with spiritual work, it's very much internal, as as opposed to it being an external way of being, or like rules that you're following or path that you're walking along. It's that internal stuff. I don't know if you want to comment on that, because I know that's quite can be controversial to some people.
Well, no, because I think spirituality is so personal, and one which may describe themselves differently to me, one Christian might describe themselves differently to another Christian.
Yeah,
It's so personal, and regardless of religion, you are a person who deserves to feel heard, deserves to feel empowered, deserves to feel loved and guided through a difficult time in your life. And no matter what religion or non-religion somebody might
yeah,
be, if they're drawn to kind of reach out to me, then that's lovely, and I'm willing
yeah,
to work with anyone on their own personal journey.
yeah. Because I think like there can be a lot of fear around kind of witchcraft or paganism or spiritual guidance or that kind of stuff. So it's like, what would you say to someone who is kind of curious but maybe comes from a background where this sort of work is has I'm trying to think of the right words. This kind of work is seen in a very negative light, but they're at a stage where maybe their mind is starting to be a little bit more open to it, and they've got that kind of heart pull into exploring. What would you say to them? What would your suggestions be?
So I would suggest to firstly maybe join our witch circle on it's a Facebook group, because then that'll get you used to our energies and it would make you feel like you're part of a community. Um, Sort of what we do as well is offer a free 20-minute consultation. So someone's not sure whether they want to go ahead with it, they can sit and have a
Mm,
chat with me on a video call, and say why they may be having some hesitations, but also feeling pulled to do it as well,
yeah,
and try and get some of that out in conversation. I would also say trust yourself. You know, if we have been socialized and raised to have certain beliefs, it's really hard to unlearn those things. So I often actually work with people who were raised in a way that didn't encourage witchcraft or working with spirituality at all, and they often have a lot of issues around their heart chakra, their heart center, around guilt and shame, because of how they were made to feel, and now they're
mm,
going on a path that is against what they were raised to feel. So I would say follow yourself and follow what feels right for you, and the process of unlearning starts at that point, that decision to follow yourself and your heart. The unlearning process and the healing processes start with that decision, and I can help at any point that needs
yeah.
to be, that you need any support with that at any point through that journey.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've shared like previously, I think on the Crystal Healing podcast, that like it's something I've kind of always had an interest in, like the more, as we say, woo stuff. But I felt kind of almost a little bit silly about it because it didn't really align with like my logical way of looking at the world. And I had to use science to kind of make like get around some of those barriers. And I did eventually. Then there was a period of time where like I would dabble with tarot and dabble with all of these things, and not share it with anyone. So I actually had a coming out party with some friends and got all of like my stuff out and kind of said, look, this is a part of me. This is a part of who I am, and this is a part of stuff that I enjoy. And it was so interesting because once I started talking about it with people I've known for quite a while, they're like, oh yeah, I'm really interested in this, or I'm curious about this. So I think, like, if it's not your world currently, it can be quite, it can be feel really restrictive to kind of feel okay with talking about it, because I think, like, for me there was a fear of judgment, there was a fear of like, I'm dabbling, I don't really know enough, and are people are going to ask me questions and I won't know the answers sort of thing. So I mean, I don't know if that's possibly something that you experience with the clients that come to you, and is there any sort of words of wisdom that you would say to people who are like me at that stage?
Of course, and I think everyone is wise and wonderful and have their own set of knowledge that is unique to them, that is incredibly important to share with the world. No matter how much your ego is telling you that you don't know enough or
Yeah,
that you're not good enough for something, you are. And that's
yeah,
the bottom line. It's the ego that's telling us that we aren't good enough to share that part of us with the world, or any part of us ourselves. So I would say you know more than you really allow yourself to. And it's not until you have those conversations with people that you start dipping your toe, so to speak, that you will actually discover that quite likely you probably do know more than you're giving yourself credit for, but also that it's actually okay to not know everything. I don't know everything. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't know everything, and I'm quite
mm,
happy to admit that. I can enter a conversation and say, no, actually, I don't know the answer to that, but let's have a think about it. Let's have a chat about
yeah,
it. Maybe I'll go away and meditate on it, or chat to Raven about it and get back to you. And then there's a humble feeling if we all admit we don't know everything about everything. We don't know all the answers to the universe. And I think part of our healing and journey is to actually just be okay with that, and
yeah.
to embrace wherever we are in our journeys. No one's above anyone else, Sarah. We are all just linking arms and pushing each other along in this
Absolutely.
journey called life. We know no one's better or knows everything. And if anyone sort of says that they know everything or has a rule book with all the answers, then I would suggest that well, maybe it's nice. Maybe it's nice for them to feel like they know everything, but I certainly don't.
Yeah, yeah, and I would agree with you. Well, when you paused on that sentence, I finished it in my head with "that's their ego talking," because that's how it felt for me.
I was trying to
Maybe
be more
that's judge.
diplomatic than that.
Yeah, maybe that's a little judgmental, but just reflecting on where I was and what you've said, it very much was that ego, that fear of not being enough, that fear of how does this align with the kind of where I'm going as training to be a counselor, and like the stuff that I'm, professionally wanting to do. But actually, for me, it's evolved, and it's my practice has grown, and the way in which I work as my therapeutic work, it's all feeds in, and it we don't have all the answers, none of us have got all of the answers, and there's beauty in that space of not knowing, because that space of curiosity is where all this the evolution happens, isn't it? And it's so powerful if we can let go of the fear of that unknown stuff and step into it. That, I think, is where we have all that growth, and we find our power, and yeah, we become.
Of course we do. And I think that's a little con of the internet, social media witch and social media world in a way, because there is so much out there that tells us the do's and don'ts, even like little memes that
Mm,
kind of have like a little list of do's, or you're a witch if, or you're not a
yeah,
witch if, and then a list of checkpoints like, oh,
yeah,
tick, tick, okay,
yeah,
I must be a witch then, that's okay, that's good. Or even kind of all these lovely witchy aesthetic pictures and everything looking all beautiful, and they've always got such lovely long nails, and they're doing it all perfectly with the tarot cards and all of that,
yeah,
which is lovely. It's beautiful. I think they're wonderful, but we are also in danger of having this problematic comparison culture,
Yeah.
where people think if I don't look like that or deliver my witchcraft or my spirituality in that way, if I don't check all of them points on that post, then I'm not doing it quite right. So I think that's maybe the main con of the sort of social media internet world, when we
Yeah.
look for support as a witch in any shape, way or form. It can be very difficult to overcome some of those comparisons, I think.
And I think sort of as society, we very much like a stereotype, don't we? It makes it
Yeah.
easier if we can pigeonhole a person as, oh, well, you look like this and you do this, so therefore your beliefs must be. And the reality is, whatever walk of life you come from, there's nuances, there's difference, and that's the stuff that enriches all practice, isn't it? All kind of walks of life. So yeah, very much. I mean, I remember when I first started working as a counsellor, I didn't have the colourful hair. I debated for about 5 years whether to have a visible tattoo, because I was worried about how it might impact my clients. And the more I've stepped into the me, the more anyone who's watching will see my hair regularly changes colour, length, shaved, not shaved. I have visible tattoos. And it's so powerful. There's so much power in being who you are, and you don't have to be a stereotype, you don't have to be an aesthetic, you don't have to tick all the boxes of a meme. So it's wonderful, like you say, that there's all of this resource out there, but you don't, we're not like little cutty cut, oh, I can't speak, we are not little cookie cutter people.
Well, that's a tongue twister for a Tuesday
Yeah,
morning.
I'm not saying it again.
Yeah,
um
definitely.
So I think we're probably kind of at time. Do you feel like we've covered everything that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy with
Is
that.
there anything you would like to leave people with, that are listening, sort of about spiritual guidance, or just something that, you know, you feel is an important message to get across to people today?
Yeah, I just want to let people know that my aim is always to love and accept you completely as you are, warts and all. You are who you are, and I think your unique and beautiful frequency energy that you give to the world is so, so valuable and important. You are so much more loved and valued than you know. And if you don't feel like that, then please come to me so I can tell you that I love you and that I value you and your existence in this universe. Because I'm so thankful that every one of us is here and part of our collective. And I just want to share that love and light with everybody. So if anyone is feeling lost or disempowered, or that life's just a bit crap right now, then know that I can be a safe person for you to turn to and give you a spiritual hug. And
I
that is
love
my
that.
aim.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if that's resonated for the people that are listening, if that's resonated, Black Moon Co's details will be in the show notes. You will be able to find sort of more about me and the guests if you visit srtt.co.uk or on the SRTT podcast. I do love hearing all the feedback and the suggestions and the stuff. Thank you so much, Lena, for being my guest today and coming along and speaking with me. I could talk to you for hours about this, and I'm probably going to ask you to come back at another time, perhaps, if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's excellent. Thank you so much for having me. It's been absolutely lovely to chat with you this morning.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone that's listened. I really hope you have enjoyed today's episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.